Part 7. After Rebirth, Boss, she is beautiful and sassy. Author, Beautiful. Chapter 61. Chapter 61 Pointing Fingers. Suzyuling originally wanted to call Yunsu directly and ask her to meet her, but she didn't expect that she had already changed her number. Suzyuling could only sulk. Did she just not want to have anything to do with the Yun family anymore? This is actually an injustice to Yunsu. They are not that important to her. Yunsu changed her phone number simply because she was annoyed by the calls from the talent scouts and agents. Unable to contact anyone, Suzyuling could only ask the housekeeper to check the current addresses of Yunsu and Yoon Daejin. Zilu, Suzyuling heard the housekeeper's reply and thought he was wrong. Although Zilu is not as good as their wealthy area, it is also a famous high-end community in Lanchinge. Where did Yoon Daejin get the money to bring Yunsu with him? Live there? Just his store? How can it be? Suzyuling deliberately went out early in the morning. Yunyan and Yunjing sat in the restaurant to have breakfast. Yunjing finished the meal in twos and then went out. Yunyan lowered his head, and his hair covered half of his face, showing no emotion. Suzyuling arrived at Zilu. The high-end community had strict inspections, so she couldn't get in and had to wait in the car outside. Soon, I saw Yunsu going out to school. Suzyuling quickly got out of the car and called her, Susu. Yunsu looked back and saw that the person who got out of the car was not Suzyuling. Is there something wrong, Mrs. Yoon? Yunsu said in a cold tone. Mrs. Yoon? As soon as she met Suzyuling, Yunsu was so angry that she fell backwards. I am your mother. My mother passed away almost 10 years ago. Who are you? You, Suzyuling gasped for breath. Forget it, I won't care about this with you. You get in the car with me and I have something to tell you. Yes, why, do you want to learn how to teach Yunyan? She can't do it, she doesn't have enough IQ. She sneered, that's right. His muddy legs may not even understand what recommendation means. Yunsu's face turned cold. Mrs. Yoon, this is our family's business and you don't need to worry about it. Just say it here. Yunsu refused. Yunsu just made her angry on purpose. The angrier Suzyuling was, the better she felt. You are my daughter, why can't I control you? Hearing Yunsu's indifferent answer, Suzyuling could no longer hold back her anger. What are you thinking about? Can you refuse this casually? Yoon Daejin doesn't care about you either. Yash has just opened its doors not long ago. Kingyu only comes to help at noon and afternoon after school from Monday to Friday. Now only Yoon Daejin is in the store, busy making braised food in the pot. Okay, Suzyuling could only compromise. Let me ask you, did you win a gold medal in a mathematics competition recently? Before Suzyuling could react, Yunsu got in the car and drove away, leaving her angry where she was. Having hit a wall in Yunsu, Suzyuling felt uncomfortable, thought about it, and asked the driver to drive to the store opened by Yoon Daejin. Yunsu didn't want to argue with her. If that's all you want to say, then there's nothing to talk about. I'll leave first. I want a learning method. Suzyuling was so angry that she cursed. Did you reject the offers from Beijing University and Huaqing University? Your daughter? Sorry, let me remind you that we no longer have any relationship. Yes. Suzyuling entered the store at this time. She pinched her nose and her eyes were full of disgust. What are you doing here? Yoon Daejin stopped what he was doing and asked with a wary expression. Suzyuling walked a little away from the stew pot. I want to talk to you about Yunsu. We have nothing to talk about, so you can leave without sending her away. Yoon Daejin, is this how you teach your children? Yunsu was indeed raised by Yoon Daejin. Both father and daughter had the ability to make people angry to death with just one sentence. Did you know that Yunsu won the prize in the competition? I know. Yoon Daejin looked confused. What? You know? You know you asked her to refuse admission to Hwaking University and Beijing University. What kind of guarantee? Suzayuling smiled scornfully. You don't even know what a recommendation is. How on earth are you taking care of your child? A recommendation means that she can go directly to the best university in the country without taking the college entrance examination. Do you understand? Yoon Daejin was silent. He really didn't know about this. I believe Susu. She must have her own ideas when she does this. I support her. How old is she? How can she have any ideas? I want to be a parent to check her. Do you understand clearly? Suzayuling felt like a scholar meeting a soldier. She couldn't explain why. No matter what, this is our family's business and has nothing to do with you anymore. You don't need to tell me what to do. Yoon Yan is your daughter. We have made it very clear before. Please come back. Yoon Daejin, continue to do your own thing and ignore her. Suzayuling had no choice but to hold in her anger and leave. At night, when Yoon-soo returned home from her work in Yunching, Yoon Daejin was waiting for her. Susu, Dad wants to ask you something. Was the competition you participated in before very good? I heard that you can be recommended to Hwaking University and Peking University. Right. Then why did you refuse? Dad, did the Yoon family come to see you? I told you. Suzayuling must have been frustrated by her and went to her father again. This is not important. Yoon Daejin looked at her. Yoon-soo told Yoon Daejin what he thought. Dad, I didn't think this matter was important, so I didn't tell you. I don't need to be recommended. I can pass the college entrance examination on my own. You have to wait 3 years before you can study. I want to skip to the 3rd year of high school to take the college entrance examination after finishing my 1st year of high school. Okay, Dad believes in you. Dad, don't you ask me why. Yoon Daejin's eyes were kind and tolerant. Dad can't help you with your studies. The only thing Dad can do is believe in you and support you. That's so kind of you, Dad. Yoon-soo knew that the reason why Suzayuling and the others came to her again after ignoring them before was simply because they saw that she had won the prize in this competition and felt that there was something to be gained from her. The Yoon family did not see the rabbit before the hawk. In a sense, Yoon-soo is also this kind of person. Not only that, she is also a person who is determined to retaliate. Although Yoon-tu and Suzayuling were partial to Yoon Yan in their previous life and quickly broke off their relationship when she was framed by Yoon Yan, they still supported her for several years and never did anything to really hurt her. In fact, if you think about it from another angle, doesn't Yoon Daejin also favor her? Blood relationship is not the only criterion for testing relationships. Companionship and nurturing are. She can also understand the behavior of Yoon-tu and Suzayuling to a certain extent. She can maintain her current attitude towards strangers towards them, as long as she does not touch her bottom line. But Yoon Yan is different. For Yoon Daejin's sake, she will not put her to death. She knows Yoon Yan too well. She doesn't need to do anything. As long as Yoon Yan sees that she is living a good life, all kinds of emotions will like ants gnawing at her heart. Sooner or later, Yoon Yan will not be able to help but attack her. When he gets into her hands, she will let Yoon Yan know what life is worse than death. The 10 years of prison life she has experienced, the struggle, unbearableness, and darkness inside, she let her taste them one by one. End of this chapter. After rebirth, boss, she is beautiful and sassy. Author, beautiful. Chapter 62. Chapter 62. The new year is coming. Winter in the south is always extremely cold, and the biting wind tries its best to get into people's bodies. The coldness follows them everywhere. When all the ginkgo leaves on campus fall off, the first semester of high school is almost over. Yoon-soo hadn't experienced such a cold winter for a long time. In the interstellar era, all temperatures were controlled by constant temperature. Suddenly, feeling the undisguised malice of winter, Yoon-soo wished he could wrap himself into a ball every day. The next semester will be divided into arts and sciences. Before the end of the semester, the application form for arts and sciences must be submitted. Yan Yu reminds everyone to think carefully before filling it out. Yunsu filled out the science subject without much hesitation. In fact, the liberal arts and science subjects did not make much difference to her, but compared to the liberal arts, the science subjects would require fewer words, and there was a high probability that she would also major in science in college. Yao Shuij looked at the watch in front of her and almost rubbed it to pieces. She was better at and liked liberal arts, but she didn't want to be separated from Yunsu and had been struggling for a day. How could Yunsu not see what she was thinking? She directly took the watch from Yao Shui's singer and put a check mark on the liberal arts column with a pen. That's it, choose liberal arts. But, I don't want to be separated from you. Yao Shui's shoulders slumped. Why can't we have both? This is about your future, and that's the most important thing. It's just that we're not in the same class. It doesn't matter, and I might skip to senior year after next semester, so even if you choose science, we won't be able to be together for long. Days Yunsu advised her warmly. What? Skip a grade? Yao Shuij didn't care about the subject matter anymore. Why? 3 years is too long. I have too much to do and I can't wait. Oh well. Although Yao Shuij was careless, there were times when she was thoughtful. She knew that Yunsu was different from them, so she didn't ask any more questions. After completing the subjects, it's time for the final exam. The 3-day exam passed quickly, and the first winter vacation of high school ushered in. Nova is indeed one of the best pianists in the world. He understands the emotions expressed in this song very thoroughly. The stars in the painting are twinkling, and Yunsu is among them, as if those years were still yesterday. Yunsu finally has time to devote himself to Yunchinj and the Research Institute. The characters, plot, and gameplay of the game have basically been decided. What he is currently busy with is the drawing of various scenes in the game. The Research Institute is relatively it will be easier for them, because Yunsu has handed over the complete design concept and key technical points, and Yunsu only needs to keep an eye on their progress. It can be seen that Butler put a lot of effort into writing this short letter, and his sentences are full of sincerity. She goes to Linju less now and doesn't need frequent acupuncture. She also taught Ling's mother the necessary massage techniques to relax the muscles and activate the collaterals. Now Linju can walk a few steps with a little support. Carrying a crutch for painful and joyful rehabilitation. Yunsu thought about it, sent a message to Butler, and agreed to Master Nova's invitation. Dear Su, hello. After I left last time, I couldn't forget your singing for a long time. First of all, I want to say sorry to you. I sent the video of your singing to my teacher, Mr. Nova. He liked it very much. This song praises your talent. I played the song myself and burned it for you. I hope you will like it and sincerely invite you. I hope you can be a guest at his concert next year and collaborate with you. This song, if you have the opportunity, you are also welcome to visit country. Why I look forward to your reply, your friend Butler. Yunsu took out the CD and started playing it. At night, she was alone in the room without turning on the lights. The painting Ling Yu gave her gave off a gentle light. There seemed to be whispers and strong winds in the piano music, a mixture of hardness and softness, and emotions. Full. Yunsu also unexpectedly received a Cross-Ocean Express from Butler, which turned out to be a burned CD and a handwritten letter from Butler. In order to show his sincerity, it was specially written in Chinese, crookedly. It was very difficult for Yunsu to read the handwriting. So many entertainment company agents approached her before, but she was indifferent. The reason why she agreed to Nova's invitation was not only because she was very grateful to him for the gift, but also because she wanted more people to hear this song, even if time and space were different. The emotion is the same. After working hard for more than half a month, Yunsu finally took a breather. It was almost the end of the new year. The streets were filled with lanterns and lanterns. The atmosphere of the spring festival was getting stronger and stronger. Yoon Daejin saw that Yoon-soo had been very busy recently. They all lost a lot of weight and finally rested, so they took Yoon-soo out to buy New Year goods and relax. The two of them, together with Yoonding and his son, went out. This was their first New Year in Lanchinge. Although it was not as lively as in the past when there were many relatives and friends in Xiaoshui town, even if there were only 3 of them, the New Year's ceremony was still there. Can't fall behind. Dad, you don't need to buy the couplets. Just find 2 pieces of red paper and I'll write them, Yoon-soo said when he saw Yoon Daejin looking at the stall with the couplets. Okay, then I'll let you write. By the way, not only couplets, but also the word fu. Yoon Daejin nodded and added, you have to buy lanterns, otherwise this year will not feel like a new year. It's a pity that this firecrackers and fireworks are not allowed in big cities, otherwise I would really want to buy some. Yoon Daejin looked a little regretful, and Yoon-soo quickly said, it's okay, Dad, we can go back to Xiaoshui town to stay for a few days after the new year to see my uncle and the others. I will accompany you then. Really? Of course. Yoon-soo looked at Yoon Daejin's surprised expression and felt sad. She knew that although her father was living a good life in Lanchinge and the business in the store was booming, he still missed Xiaoshui town in his heart. She looked at Yoonding again, Xiaoting, do you want to go back? Yoonding's big watery eyes flickered, I want to play with Xiaozu. Xiaozu is Yoonding's friend since childhood. Okay, sister will take you back during the Chinese New Year. Now Xiaoting can play with toys first. Okay, sister will buy you any toys you like. Thank you, sister, Yoonding cheered and ran to the toy area. Yoon-soo sometimes wonders if she is too selfish. Because of her, her father and Xiaoting left familiar people and places and came to live in this unfamiliar city. Yoon-soo secretly made up her mind to understand everything in the future. I must build a beautiful big house in Xiaoshui town and live there with my father and Xiaoting. Susu, what are you thinking about? Yoon Daejin looked at his daughter in confusion. Huh? Dad, what did you say? Yoon-soo came back to his senses. Yoon Daejin asked her, what kind of dumplings do you want to eat? Dad, cabbage and pork dumplings. The cabbage and pork dumplings you make are the most delicious. No other place has that taste. She recalled the smell she missed countless times in her midnight dreams. Okay, let's take a look at the stuffed cabbage and pork. Let me see what else I need to buy. Yoon Daejin looked at the list carefully. The picture of a family of 3 visiting the supermarket is warm and beautiful. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After Rebirth, Boss, she is beautiful and sassy. Author, beautiful. Chapter 63. Chapter 63 Haunted House Horror. Yoon-soo gave Yoonchunj and the people at the institute a holiday and asked everyone to go back to celebrate the new year. After being busy for so long, it was time for everyone to relax and clear their heads. There was work to do and rest to do. When she had free time, Yoon-soo read books at home and helped her father do something. Yao Shuij called her and sent her an invitation, saying that they would go out for a walk together and have a meal together. There were also Lian Yu, Qin Cheng, Li Yan, etc. a bunch of people. As soon as Yoon Daejin heard someone calling her to go out and play, he immediately chased her out. Go out and play, I think you'll get moldy if you stay at home any longer. Yoon-soo had no choice but to get dressed and get ready to go out. She also had a scarf, hat, gloves, and all the cold-proof equipment. It was not that she was staying at home, but it was really too cold outside. As soon as she went out, she shivered from the cold. She quickly took a taxi and headed to her destination, Lanchinge Amusement Park. When she arrived, everyone was already waiting for her. Lian Yu leaned against Qin Cheng and put his hand on Li Yan's shoulder. looking like the two brothers were in good company. Li Yan didn't show any impatient expression and wanted to put it aside. In the past, they were completely different from top academics like Li Yan and Shen Jinzhu, and it was because of Yunsu that they became closely connected. Lian Yu laughed loudly when he saw her wishing to wrap herself into a ball. No way, Sister Yun, how can it be so cold? Several others could not help but laugh. Everyone was dressed lightly. Shen Jinzhu and Yao Shuij only had a sweater under their coats that didn't look very thick. Yunsu felt cold when she looked at it. I can't, I'm really cold. Yunsu shook her head. When she was a child, she fell into a pond in the winter. Since then, she has been afraid of the cold. Every winter, she feels colder than others. Now she has prescribed a prescription for herself and is taking medicine to recover. Then I'll go by myself. Yunsu ran towards the roller coaster excitedly. I think it's a good thing that she rarely relaxes, Qing Yu said suddenly. 10 minutes later, vomit. Lian Yu held onto the railing and vomited until he was so dizzy that his face was as white as paper. We first asked her opinion. Yunsu was a little confused. She had never been to an amusement park first, it was because of poor conditions at home, and later because she was too busy. She no longer had the yearning and expectation for an amusement park that she had when she was a child. Would you like to play again? Yunsu felt the fun and looked at other amusement facilities, eager to try it. Everyone bought tickets and sat on it, put on their equipment, and waited for the big pendulum to start. Yunsu took the time to stare at Lian Yu's pretending to be calm. How could he still be brave? The big pendulum slowly started to move. Lian Yu grabbed the handle with such force that his joints turned white. Didn't you say that she didn't want to come out to play, so you did the hard lifting? Shen Jinzhu looked at Yao Shuij. She deliberately provoked him, and sure enough, Lian Yu scratched his neck and said stubbornly, who is afraid? Let's play. I'll go first. A group of people were left stunned on the spot, watching her play all kinds of thrilling rides, falling into collective silence. Everyone nodded. Yunsu is too powerful. She has too many things to do. She is so mature that she doesn't look like a girl of her age. It's good to rarely show her childish side. Yunsu looked at the screaming crowd on top of the big pendulum, and then at Lian Yu's slightly pale face, and understood, I just want to play with this. What? Are you scared? Qin Cheng held his forehead with an expression on his face that he couldn't bear to watch anymore. Everyone also looked like they were watching a good show. Yao Shuij was also speechless. Yes, now I have more fun than anyone else. Yunsu finally finished all the projects and came back with unfinished business. Sister Yun, you are really awesome. Lian Yu hadn't recovered yet. He had been afraid of heights since he was a child. Yunsu was able to play so many projects without even taking a breath, which really impressed him. Then let's stop standing and let's go quickly. Qing Yu looked at Yunsu shivering from the cold and felt a little distressed, so she hurriedly said. Yunsu is a person who has even flown a spaceship. How could he be afraid of these small amusement facilities? Sister Yun, what project do you want to play first? I give up, I can't do it anymore. Lian Yu waved his hands feebly. Although the others were not as serious as Lian Yu, they were still frightened and shook their heads. Lian Yu's pupils trembled and his face changed slightly. Sister Yun, why don't we change to another one? Let's play something else first. Let's take that one. Yunsu pointed at a hammer-shaped amusement ride. Yao Shuij looked around and said, why don't we go play that? It won't be tiring, and it will be warm indoors. Everyone followed her line of sight and saw a large circular building with the word haunted house written on the door. Haunted house. I can do this. Lian Yu raised his hand. He was not afraid of ghosts. However, he looked at Qin Cheng. Sure enough, Qin Cheng's expression changed. Okay. Everyone had no objection and walked towards the haunted house. There are many themes for the haunted house, and everyone chose the mental hospital theme with the highest horror index. Lian Yu looked at Qin Cheng's increasingly lower aura and laughed crazily. After entering, the light inside was very dim, and the group of people groped forward. In view of Lian Yu's rookie performance just now, everyone asked Li Yan and Qin Cheng to go one after another. The girl was in the middle. In response to everyone's contempt, Lian Yu felt strange there was no rebuttal and he stood in the middle obediently. Qin Cheng gritted his teeth. How could he not know what Lian Yu was thinking, but he really couldn't say anything to shrink back, so he had to hypnotize himself over and over in his mind. There are no ghosts in this world, no. The heating was turned on in the haunted house, but everyone just felt that there was a vague coldness lingering around them. They passed the ward, operating room, and anatomy room along the way. Various medical instruments in the dark room exuded a cold light. The realistic doll model had its mouth wide open, covered in blood, and had a ferocious smile, staring straight at the people passing by. Everyone gradually became quiet, and only the footsteps and rapid breathing of a few people could be heard. Qin Cheng walked at the end, his usually cold face could no longer hold on, his head was sweating, and his legs were a little weak, but he was still trying to hold on. In front of him was Shenjinzu. Fortunately, she was fully devoted to the surroundings. In the environment, I didn't notice anything strange about Qin Cheng. Lian Yu paused for a moment, moved to Qin Cheng's side, and said in a voice that only two people could hear, "Brother Cheng, if it really doesn't work, let's go out. It won't be embarrassing." There was unconcealable schadenfreude in his tone. "Shut up." Li Yan opened the way in front, and everyone continued to move forward. The coldness became more and more obvious. There seemed to be voices and babies crying around. Everyone's nerves were tense, and they had to muster the courage to take every step. The proportions of the skeleton's body are wrong. The tibia and ulna are obviously short. This is too hasty, Yunsu complained in a low voice as he walked, like a doctor's occupational disease. Yao Shuij was about to kneel down. "Susu, I beg you, stop talking." "All right." Several people entered the morgue. Rows of stretchers covered with white cloth were bulging like human shapes. Qingyu held Yunsu's hand tightly, looking nervous. Qin Cheng stood at the door of the morgue, hesitating and not daring to enter. When he looked back, he saw a white figure floating by, and he was so frightened that he immediately ran in 2 steps. "What is that lying on top?" As soon as these words came out, everyone felt a little scared. Li Yan pulled the white cloth directly and said, "Open it and take a look and you will know." "Ah!" Several girls covered their eyes and screamed. After a while, they opened their eyes cautiously after hearing no movement. "What, they're still models, it's boring." Qin Cheng looked at the slightly rough mannequin and calmed down a little. He carefully opened the white cloth on the stretcher in front of him. "Phew. It's really a model, nothing to be afraid of." He gradually relaxed, and at this moment, a pale and cold hand slowly placed on his shoulder. "Lian Yu, are you looking for death?" He moved his shoulder impatiently, trying to shake off the hand. Lian Yu was confused. "Brother Cheng, what are you talking about? I asked you to take your hands away." "Wait, why is Lian Yu's voice in front? Then whose hand is this?" Qin Cheng turned his head slowly and stiffly, and could almost hear the sound of his teeth chattering. He had an enlarged pale face, with messy long hair covering half of his face. There were no eyes, and the 2 blood holes were still bleeding with blood and tears. Scarlet red, a mouth open to the extreme, almost splitting. "Are you looking for me?" Her voice seemed to come from the ground, deep and cold. Qin Cheng's heartbeat almost stopped. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds before he broke free and screamed with all his strength, almost piercing his eardrums. He punched up subconsciously. "Ah!" This time it was the female ghost who called out. "Ah!" Hearing the noise behind them, everyone turned around and saw screams one after another. Everyone spread their legs and ran out in a panic. Why are you running? Am I not good looking? The female ghost covered her face and followed a few people quietly, asking. A few people ran faster, help. Qing Yu's small body burst out with huge energy, pulling Yunsu along with her. 2 minutes later, everyone stood outside the door of the haunted house, bent over and panting wildly, with lingering fears. It feels so good to see the light of day again. Shen Jinzu was also frightened. After resting for a while, everyone finally calmed down and looked at Qin Chen with joking eyes. Brother Chen, I'm not afraid of you anymore. I just want to laugh when I think of your expression just now, ha 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 ha. Yao Shuij laughed so hard that the image of the first lieutenant colonel collapsed in her heart. Everyone couldn't help but laugh, and Lian Yu, an insider, even laughed like crazy. Let's laugh. Qin Chen hasn't recovered yet and doesn't have the strength to deal with Lian Yu. By the way, did Brother Chen hit that female ghost just now? It seems so. Everyone looked at each other, feeling a little guilty. Let's go quickly. Everyone quickly left the scene of the accident. The laughter of the teenagers echoed throughout the winter, and it seemed that some of the chills on their bodies had been dispelled. The person in charge of the haunted house silently wrote the first note on the bulletin board: do not beat the staff in a larger size. End of this chapter. After rebirth, boss, she is beautiful and sassy. Author, beautiful. Chapter 64. Chapter 64. Happy New Year. Dad, come and see, is this dumpling I made right? And mine. On the night of New Year's Eve, it was just after 6 o'clock, and it was completely dark. Every household was busy with the New Year's Eve dinner. The Yunsu siblings called loudly in the living room, and Yun Daejin, who was busy in the kitchen, came out. Check out the dumplings they made. He looked at Yun Ting first and said, yes, just put less stuffing in it, otherwise it will be difficult to wrap it up. Yun Daejin nodded in praise. Received the praise from his father, Yun Ting raised his little head proudly. Looking at Yunsu's again, Yun Daejin looked disgusted. Are these dumplings you are making? They are loose, and the mouth is not closed. The fillings will be exposed when the pot is turned. Your brother can't make them well. Forget it. Just go watch TV and stop messing around. Yun Daejin couldn't figure out how he could have a daughter who was a kitchen idiot, even though she could cook some things when she was little. Yunsu sat aside and watched the two of them busy. The dumplings they made were white, fat, round, and looked delicious. She touched her nose guiltily. After decades of living in the interstellar world, let alone cooking her own food, she only used a nutrient solution to deal with it when she was busy. She had long forgotten all the things in the kitchen. The Spring Festival Gala is being shown on TV, and the host is introducing the next program in a cheerful tone. Although there were only 3 people, Yun Daejin still cooked a large table of dishes. Yun Daejin brought the last steamed fish to the table, and the New Year's Eve dinner began. Good. Yunsu was flattered and quickly replied, thank you Professor Meng. Happy New Year. May you have good work and good health in the new year. There are still people in various groups competing for New Year's red envelopes. Yunsu generously distributed several large red envelopes to the work groups of the company and research institute, causing everyone to refresh their screens and thank the boss for his generosity. Happy New Year. Yunsu smiled. They were all released secretly. Didn't you see there were patrols outside? We'll go back to Xiaoshui town in 2 days to let you have enough. After finishing the meal, the family of 3 sat on the sofa and continued to watch the party. Yunsu's cell phone kept ringing, filled with messages of New Year blessings from everyone. She held her cell phone and replied seriously one by one. Then what should I call you? Brother Qin? Brother Chiao? It's hard to speak. Should I call you fifth brother like Zhou Ye and the others? Susu, Happy New Year. After a moment of silence, Qin Jiao said, I express my admiration for you. You can call me that. On the other end of the phone was the man's low and gentle voice, which was full of warmth. Yunsu smiled unconsciously, "Happy New Year, Mr. Wu." Just as he was responding to the message, Qin Jiao called, and Yunsu went to the balcony to answer it. "If it's delicious, eat more Xiaoting, you can eat too." Yun Daijin looked at the two siblings with a smile on his face. Yunsu took a bite and squinted his eyes with satisfaction. "Well, it's delicious. It just tastes like this. It hasn't changed at all." "Dad, you eat too." Yunsu picked up vegetables for Yun Daijin. The three of them also enjoyed their New Year's Eve dinner happily. Outside the window, fireworks flashed from time to time, reflecting the dark night. "Hello. Here, let's try the dumplings first." "Is it the same as before?" Yun Daijin first put a dumpling into Yunsu's bowl, looking forward to it. Qin Jiao stood on the terrace of the Qin family's old house, looking at the snowflakes flying in the dark night, smiling helplessly. "Let's discuss something. Can we change the name?" He had wanted to say it a long time ago. "Come, let's have a drink together. Happy New Year." "If I had known that someone would set off fireworks, we would have bought some fireworks." Yun Daijin looked regretful. Classmates, teachers, friends, colleagues from companies and research institutes, etc. Even Professor Meng Hui sent her a message, "Happy New Year, classmate Yunsu." "Muji," the two words rolled on the tip of his tongue. Yunsu smiled and said, "Why does this word sound so elegant? It's a bit different from your name." "The name was given to me by my father. He is a soldier and had always hoped that I could join the army. My grandfather was a scholar and gave me the name." Qin Jiao explained. "No wonder, then let me say it again, Happy New Year." "Admire it." The girl's cheerful voice came, and Qin Jiao's smile deepened. It was obvious that everyone in the family called him this, so it was not strange, but when it came from Yunsu's mouth, it was strange. "It has a different smell. What are you doing there? Isn't it cold? Come and chat with your dad." Ms. Jean looked at her young son who was talking on the phone on the terrace with a ghostly expression on his face. "Who were you talking to on the phone? Can her son still smile so tenderly?" "Come right away." Qin Jiao said good night to Yunsu, suppressed his smile, and walked to the living room. After finishing the call with Qin Jiao, Yunsu was still standing on the balcony. This was the first New Year she had come back to celebrate. Now that her father and brother are by her side, she was extremely satisfied and believed that the days to come would get better and better. May the new year be better than the old one. The next day, the first day of the Lunar New Year, was a day to visit relatives and friends to pay New Year greetings. The Yunsu family had no relatives in Lanchinge, so they omitted this part, and the family of three stayed at home comfortably. It is necessary to go to the Lian family, but there must be more guests coming and going in the past few days, and things are complicated, so Yunsu plans to wait for them to come back from Xiaoshui town before going to the Lian family. Over in Linju, because Grandpa Ling and Grandma Ling really miss their grandson, they also returned to the capital to celebrate the Spring Festival. Unexpectedly, they didn't go out to pay New Year greetings, but someone would come to their house. "Ching Ching, why are you here?" Yunsu asked in surprise. Qing Yu was afraid that the Yunsu family would go out to pay New Year greetings, so she rushed over early in the morning, carrying large and small bags. Her face was red from the cold. "It's my mother. She insisted that I come over early to pay you New Year greetings. Come on in." Yunsu got her a cup of hot water and held it to warm her body. "What about Auntie, why didn't she come with you?" "My mother is still a little weak and can't breathe. She is watching TV alone at home." Qing Yu lowered his head and took a sip of water to hide the emotions in his eyes. Yunsu's face darkened. Are they the mother and daughter at home on the first day of the new year? What is her stepfather doing? You're not still out drinking and gambling during the Chinese New Year, are you? Susu, who's here? Yun Daijin walked out of the room. Hello, Uncle Yun, Happy New Year. Qing Yu quickly stood up and bowed to greet the New Year. Yun Daijin was startled. Xiao, Why are you here alone? Dad, can you go wash some fruits? Yunsu quickly changed the subject and dismissed her father. Xiaoting, Sister Xiao is here, call someone quickly. Hello, meet my sister. The voice was crisp. Xiaoting is so good. Yunting often does homework in Ya's shop after school, so he is no stranger to King Yu. Yunsu chatted with her nonchalantly, and although Qing Yu tried his best to control it, Yunsu still saw that she was not in a good mood, and her heart sank. Susu, I'm leaving first. My mother is still waiting for me at home. After a while, Qing Yu said goodbye. Yunsu walked to the room and said, wait for me. I'll change my clothes and go back with you to see my aunt. Qing Yu said quickly, no, Susu, I can just go back by myself. You should stay at home with your uncle and Xiaoting during the Chinese New Year. It's okay, I'm staying at home. Besides, last time my aunt invited me to dinner, I didn't go yet. You don't welcome me to go, right? Last time, Qing met her mother and asked Yunsu to have dinner. Yunsu was delayed because of something and could not go. Yunsu said this deliberately. Sure enough, Qing was in a hurry and said quickly, how could it be? I'm sure you'll welcome him. Then let's go. Yunsu greeted Yun Daijin and went out. Before leaving, Yun Daijin forced Qing Yu to receive a New Year's red envelope. End of this chapter. After Rebirth, Boss, she is beautiful and sassy. Author, beautiful. Chapter 65. Chapter 65. Qing meets stepfather. Yunsu ignored Qing Yu's obstruction and went to buy New Year's gifts first, then took a taxi and arrived at the old city where Qing Yu's family belonged. Here we are. After climbing 5 floors and arriving at the door of her house, Qing Yu turned the key and opened the door. No need to change your shoes, just come in. Qing Yu was a little embarrassed. In fact, their family didn't even have a pair of slippers for guests, although they had no guests at all. Some of them were uninvited guests. Although the area of the old house is not large, it is kept clean and orderly inside and out. However, the house is filled with a strong smell of alcohol, mixed with the vague smell of medicine, which penetrates into the house. Yunsu frowned. Qing Yu opened the window to get some air, and coughing sounds came from the bedroom. Is it Xiao Yu? Why are you back so soon? Is there no one at Yunsu's house? The woman said in a weak voice. Qing Yu walked in quickly, followed by Yunsu. Mom, Susu is here, she came to see you. Hello, Auntie. Yunsu smiled brightly. I have always said that I would come to see you and try the food you cooked. Today I have the opportunity. Just now Qing didn't let me come. King Lian's face was pale, and her youthful beauty could be seen even without any makeup, but there was an indelible sadness between her brows. She looked like she had aged several years, so she sat up from the bed with her body propped up. Are you Susu? You are indeed a beautiful and smart child. Why did you come here in such a cold weather? Why don't you stay at home? Auntie's food is here. You can come and eat at any time. Auntie is happy to have you come to our house. It's too late. Xiao Yu, go wash some fruits quickly. You guys can play for a while, and I'll get up and cook. Qing Lian got out of bed and got ready to do some work. Come for dinner, try Auntie's cooking. Don't be surprised if there is not much food at home. Qing Lian looked apologetic. The family lived a tight life. The mother and daughter often treated each other casually when eating, that is, they bought some during the New Year. Order some food, otherwise there will be nothing to entertain her. This is my home, I can come back whenever I want. He moved a stool and sat down, picked up his chopsticks and ate the food. Yunsu just came over with a casual excuse. When she saw this, she quickly stopped her and said, No, Auntie, I just came to see you. You are not in good health, so you should get more rest. Okay. It's okay, the doctor also said I can move more. Qing Lian insisted on cooking in person. Bang, suddenly, the door was kicked open with great force. She knew that her daughter's friend had helped their family a lot, and even the medicine she was taking now cost Yunsu's money. She was extremely grateful. She just cooked a meal and could not repay even 1/10,000th of the kindness. Qingyu lowered her head to eat the rice, and a tear fell on the rice. It had been a long time since she had seen her mother so happy. A tall man with a square face, small eyes, and a ferocious expression walked in. "Okay, so you guys ate well when I wasn't home." The gruff voice was extremely unpleasant. The three of them chatted while eating, talking about interesting things in school, which made Qinglian laugh from time to time. "Hey, who is this little beauty?" Fang Qizi looked Yunsu up and down with his little eyes. Yunsu quickly picked up the food and put it into his mouth. "Auntie, it's already very rich and delicious. No wonder Qing often praises your cooking skills." Yunsu couldn't stop her, and Qingyu also told her to go, so Yunsu had no choice but to give up. Qing, where is your father? Why aren't you at home?" Yunsu asked casually. Qingyu had never mentioned his father in front of them, so Yunsu had to pretend not to know. He went out and had something to do," Qingyu replied with a forced smile. She really didn't want to call that person daddy. Yunsu narrowed his eyes dangerously. It was really disgusting. He really wanted to gouge out those eyes. Looking at Qingyu's expression, Yunsu knew that something must have happened, so she decided to wait and see at her house first. Although Qinglian was weak, her hands and feet were still very nimble, and she quickly prepared several dishes and brought them to the table. Qingyu's body trembled uncontrollably, and Qinglian stood up in a panic. "Why are you back? Auntie, you eat too." "This is me, stepfather." Qingyu closed her eyes and struggled to say these unspeakable words. Qinglian quickly said, "This is Xiao's friend. He is from the same school. He is just here to have fun. You still have money to entertain others. It seems that you still have money in your hands." Fang Qizi quickly swept away the food on the table and said with a wipe of his mouth. Qinglian hurriedly denied, No, where is the money at home?" Fang Qizi sneered, "Didn't I find you last night? That's Xiao's tuition for the next semester. What do you want her to do with it? Put the money back quickly." Last night, Fang Qizi, who was very drunk, came home, rummaged through the house and found a sum of money hidden by Qinglian. Regardless of her pleading, he kicked her away and went out to gamble happily. All the money was squandered in just one night. Fang Qizi lost the money. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that Qinglian had definitely hidden the money from him, so he returned home in broad daylight for the first time. "No more," Fang Qizi said nonchalantly. "Gone." "What do you mean gone? There is 50,000 yuan in it. How did you use it? Did you go gambling again? You can use this kind of money to gamble. Are you going to force us to death?" Mother and daughter. Qinglian looked excited and shouted at the top of her lungs. She no longer cared that Yunsu, a guest, was here. Qingyu said nothing, clenched her hands tightly, and her nails dug into her flesh, but she felt no pain at all. When Yunsu saw such a scene, she was extremely embarrassed. "If you say it's gone, it's gone. What are you talking about? I'm just unlucky. I can definitely come back next time. I'm warning you, you'd better be wiser and take out all the money you hid. Don't force me. Do it yourself," Fang Qizi said impatiently, with threats in his eyes. Qinglian's body trembled subconsciously, but she still insisted, "It's really gone. I don't have a job. Where will the money come from at home? In fact, there is still a sum of money in the family, which is what is left of the 1 million that Yunsu gave Qingyu." In order to prevent Fang Qizi from taking all the money away, the mother and daughter transferred the money to several cards and hid it in different places. The one Fang Qizi took away last night was one of them. "Wow," Fang Qizi raised his hand and overturned the table, spilling the bowls and chopsticks all over the floor. "Stop talking nonsense and take it out quickly." Don't move, right? I'll look for it myself. If I find it, you're finished. Fang Qizi finished speaking viciously and began to rummage around the house, throwing things everywhere. Qing Lian followed him, cleaning up the mess, feeling extremely anxious. Susu, please go back first. I'm sorry, I can only treat you to dinner next time. Qing Yu forced an apologetic smile. She was afraid that Yunsu would implicate her if she stayed here any longer. Of course Yunsu will not leave. This is a perfect opportunity to deal with Fang Qizi. She shook her head. No, he is so excited. I'm afraid something will happen to you. He might be more considerate if there are outsiders around. Qing Yu smiled bitterly. Fang Qizi didn't care whether there were outsiders at all. He beat his mother before, many people in the building called the police, and even asked people from the women's committee of the street office to adjust, but it was of no use. Fang Qizi was just a bastard. Over time, the neighbors no longer care about it. Fang Qizi rummaged around the house and found nothing. Damn it! Not a hair at all. He kicked the mottled wooden coffee table in the living room. The coffee table moved slightly. One of the coffee table legs was a little shorter, and the paper padding underneath was exposed. King Lian's expression changed slightly, and it happened to fall into Fang Qizi's eyes. He quickly bent down and picked up the stack of paper. Qing Lian rushed towards him and said, "This is the table mat. I'll clean it up." Fang Qizi was tall and powerful, how could Qing Lian be able to overtake him? "Get out of the way," he flicked his backhand vigorously, and Qing Lian fell down on the sofa. "Mom," Qing Yu hurried over to help her. Fang Qizi unfolded the folded paper, and a square bank card appeared. He was overjoyed. "I knew you hid the money. Damn it, you're pretty good at hiding it. The more dangerous the place, the safer it is." Fang Qizi never cares about the big or small things at home. He won't even help a soy sauce bottle when it falls over. If it hadn't been for this accident, he wouldn't have noticed it at all. After being overjoyed, he was furious. This stinky actually hid so much money behind his back. If he hadn't been so smart, he would have been kept in the dark. Fang Qizi became more and more angry as he thought about it. He stepped forward and opened Qing Yu's door. Pulled King Lian's hair and pulled her up. "Ah!" Qing Lian cried out in pain. Fang Qizi raised his hands high. "No," Qing Yu screamed in surprise. "Little bitch, let go, I'm telling you to let go." "Ah!" Qing Lian subconsciously closed her eyes. The expected slap did not come, but she heard Fang Qizi's scream, and she opened her eyes. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After Rebirth, boss, she is beautiful and sassy. Author, beautiful. Chapter 66. Chapter 66 Deciding to Divorce. I saw Yunsu standing next to Fang Qizi at some point. Yunsu could even be called petite next to the tall Fang Qizi, but Fang Qizi's raised hand was tightly grasped by Yunsu, and he couldn't break free. "I told you to let go, did you hear me?" Fang Qizi loosened his grip on Qing Lian, his eyes were red, and his anger almost turned into substance. King Lian's heart trembled. "Susu, let go quickly and go home. Don't keep your dad waiting." She deliberately said that Yunsu's father was waiting for her to go back, which made Fang Qizi feel a little worried. She was also confused and forgot that Yunsu was still here. What if she was hurt? "Auntie, I'm fine." Yunsu comforted her softly, turned to Fang Qizi and said, "Put down the card." The voice was cold, as if there was ice in it. This was the second time Qing Yu had seen her so angry. The last time was when he was away from the mountain. When Fang Qizi had no reason to return the money, he sneered, "You bitch, mind your own business. I'll take my family's money and it's none of your business." If you let go now, I can consider not arguing with you, otherwise. Fang Qizi looked at Yunsu with a strange look. Qingyu looked at Fang Qizi and his body shook violently. Fear flashed in his eyes. Yunsu saw it and was furious. Damn it, how dare this have such thoughts? Her hand slowly tightened, like an iron vice, and Fang Qizi couldn't break free at all. Yunsu forcefully moved his hand to the side, and Fang Qizi's hand drooped down in a weird and twisted posture. Ah, my hand is broken, a scream broke through the sky. Fang Qizi held his hands and rolled on the ground in pain. Unfortunately, because he usually did too many evil things, the neighbors thought he was acting up at home again, and they all started talking. He shook his head, closed the doors and windows, and ignored him. Qingyu's stiff body slowly relaxed, and she leaned on Yunsu's shoulder, sobbing. Oh my god, why did you go to the 5th floor? Could it be that Fang Qizi beating his wife again? While the neighbors were still discussing, the doctors had already brought the stretcher down. The man was lying on the stretcher, covered in blood, with a knife stuck in his shoulder. Fang Qizi fainted, still holding the man tightly in his hand. Bank card. You're all in the hospital, this is too much. Ah, the fruit knife was inserted a little under Fang Qizi's shoulder. The blade penetrated the entire body, exposing the tip of the knife, and blood flowed instantly. Yunsu dodged to the side unhurriedly, but Fang Qizi jumped away. Yunsu turned around and kicked him on the back. Fang Qizi fell straight down. He subconsciously wanted to hold it up with his hands, but he forgot about it. Still holding the knife, Yunsu walked up to Qingyu and took her into his arms. Don't be afraid, I'm here with you. Careful. What a sin. You are so pitiful when you meet that little girl. Yunsu saw that Fang Qizi was almost fainting, so he finally spoke and said lightly, okay, let's call the emergency number. If it's later, there will be no one. It can't be crushed to death directly, it's really troublesome. Isn't that right? The child is beautiful and sensible. I heard that he is still studying in number 1 middle school and his grades are very good. Fang Qizi saw the fruit knife that had just fallen to the ground next to him. He grabbed it and rushed towards Yunsu. I'm going to kill you, bitch. After a while, the ambulance roared into the narrow corridor of the residential building. Neighbors who heard the sound opened their doors and windows to watch the excitement, and saw the doctors carrying a stretcher to the 5th floor. Qinglian and Qingyu were stunned by the series of events. They stared blankly at Fang Qizi, who was bleeding a pool of blood and his screams were getting weaker and weaker. They opened their mouths but couldn't make any sound. Qinglian finally came to her senses and took out her cell phone to dial. Her fingers were trembling violently. She finally dialed and explained the situation to the doctor. The next second, this is the sound of a knife piercing into flesh. The discussion stopped suddenly, and the neighbors were stunned. Why was it Fang Qizi who was carried down? What happened to that knife? Qinglian still has the guts to stab Fang Qizi? Immediately afterwards I saw Qinglian and her daughter coming down, followed by a beautiful little girl, and they all got into the ambulance together. Qinglian sat in the car, dazed, silent all the way, and soon arrived at the hospital. Fang Qizi lost too much blood and was pushed into the operating room. The nurse asked Qinglian to sign the consent form for the operation, and hurried to pay the fee and go through the hospitalization procedures. The woman who has been tortured by illness and life all year round is already panicking. Although she hates Fang Qizi, she has never thought of letting him die. She doesn't know why things turned out like this. The three of them were sitting on chairs in the corridor. Yunsu thought about his words and said, Auntie, have you ever thought about what to do next? What should I do? Qinglian's eyes were blank and she asked blankly. I'm sorry, Auntie, if I'm not wrong, he must hit you often. Have you ever thought that if she can raise a knife to me today, will she raise a knife to you and Ching tomorrow? No, he just has a bad temper and likes to drink some wine and play cards, Qing Lian subconsciously retorted. Do you really think that's the case? Yunsu asked back. After being tortured for a long time, his first reaction was not to resist, but to tolerate. It's really pitiful and pathetic. Mom, Qing, you couldn't bear it anymore. She didn't understand. What are you enduring? What's there to hold on to? If you don't divorce him even though he's like this, are you going to wait until one day when he goes crazy and kills you and me? Over the years, no matter how Qing Lian was beaten, she always told Qing Yu not to hate Fang Qizi, saying that he just had a bad temper and was very nice to them most of the time. Yunsu sighed when he thought about the ending of Qing Lian being beaten to death by Fang Qizi one night in his previous life. No, no, we can't get a divorce. Qing Lian shook her head like a rattle. Xiao Yu can't live without a father. Didn't Xiao Yu cry and make trouble for a father when he was a child? People will laugh at you without a father. I've grown up now, and I don't need this kind of father. He was just confused for a moment. You forgot that he took you to buy delicious food and take you to the amusement park. Qing Lian tried her best to make Qing Yu recall how good Fang Qizi was to her in the past. Mom, Qing Yu interrupted her, tears rolling down like broken beads. The father I want is a father who cares about me, takes care of me, and loves our family, instead of just drinking all day long. The father who comes back after drinking and beats you up when you feel the slightest displeasure is not the father who just goes out to gamble, robs the family of all his money, and makes you look down upon your illness. The father is not the father who comes into my room and touches me while you are sleeping in the middle of the night. Dad, do you understand or not? After Qing Yu almost shouted these words, Yunsu's body pressure was extremely low, his face was covered with frost, and he looked towards the operating room with murderous eyes. It seemed that he had acted lightly. Qing Lian was struck by lightning. What did you say? How dare he? How could he do such a thing? Why didn't you tell me? I'm going to kill him, and I'll die with him. She stood up and was about to run to the operating room. Qing Yu quickly hugged her waist. Mom, don't go. I don't want to be without you. Divorce him. I beg you. Her daughter's back was wet with tears, and she also burst into tears. She said in a hoarse voice, Okay, Mom will listen to you, even if Mom gets a divorce, Mom will listen to you. Qing Lian spent half her life for her daughter. She remarried so that her daughter could have a father. She had endured so many years of beatings, scolding and torture from Fang Qizi for her daughter. But now she knows what her daughter suffered because of her tolerance. The emotion of self-blame overwhelmed her, and her heart almost hurt as if it was being cut by a knife. Let's go. Qing Lian pulled her daughter out of the hospital. Now she wished that Fang Qizi died in the operating room, so she wouldn't care about him. Out of the hospital, the mother and daughter were at a loss again. Fang Qizi was still in the hospital. Although they said they wanted a divorce, what should they do? Yoon Daejin called and Yoon-soo picked up the phone. Hello, Dad. I'm in the hospital now. I'm fine. I can't tell you clearly at the moment. I'll come back and tell you right away. Yoon-soo hung up the phone and said to Qing Lian, Auntie, why don't you go stay at my house for 2 days and discuss what to do? Besides, your house is in such a mess that you can't live in it now. But Qing Lian opened her mouth to refuse. Mom, just listen to Susu. Oh well. When Fang Qizi was pushed out of the operating room, the nurse realized that the family members who were supposed to be waiting were missing. Thinking that Fang Qizi had a stab wound on his body and his hand was broken, the hospital called the police. End of this chapter. After Rebirth, Boss, she is beautiful and sassy. Author, beautiful. Chapter 67. Chapter 67 Meeting an acquaintance again. Yunsu took Qing Lian and her daughter back to Zilu. Her father was waiting for her anxiously in the living room, wandering back and forth. When he heard the door open, He immediately ran over. Susu, let me see what you were doing in the hospital just now. Yoon Daejin checked Yoonsu up and down and made sure she was fine, then he breathed a sigh of relief. Only then did he notice Jing Lian and his daughter. What is this? Hello, Uncle Yoon, this is my mother, Ching Yu said quickly. Jing Lian hadn't been out for a long time and met strangers, so she was a little embarrassed. Dad, sit down, I'll tell you slowly. Yoonsu asked everyone to sit down on the sofa, and asked Yoonting to say hello and go to the room to play. This kind of thing is not suitable for children to hear. Yoonsu began to describe what happened today in detail. Jing Lian lowered her head and began to wipe her tears while listening. What? Yoon Daejin was furious when he heard Fang Kizi charging at Yoonsu with a knife, and stood up instantly. I'll look at you again, are you okay? Yoonsu smiled helplessly. I'm fine, Dad. Didn't you check me just now? He is lying in the hospital now. He deserves it. Yoon Daejin was frightened and wanted to cut Fang Kizi into pieces with 1,000 knives. Ching Yu looked at him with envy, such a kind father. This. Ching Lian took a breath. In such a short period of time, Yoonsu had already thought of all the countermeasures. This girl is too smart. King Yu looked at Yoonsu with admiration. If she could protect others like Yoonsu, maybe her mother wouldn't tolerate it to this extent for her sake. Yoonsu knew that her father was worried and hurriedly reassured him, it's okay, Dad. I'll call lawyer Fu Qingting and ask him to come with me. Don't worry, we'll be back soon. Take it, it's okay, Yoonsu signaled. 200,000, enough to give him a sentence of more than 10 years. Yoonsu dropped the bombshell lightly. Yoonsu, okay, let's go there together. I divided the money you lent to Xiao into several cards and deposited it in several cards. They were all taken from this card. There is almost 200,000 left. What's wrong? Oh well. I'll go too. Yoon Daejin stood up. The police station asked me to come over immediately. Yoonsu sneered, why don't you give up? Even if he wants to divorce, it depends on whether I agree or not. Auntie, how much money is left in the card that Fang Kizi took? Thank you, brother Yoon. Kinglian's face was full of gratitude. Yoonsu had helped them so much and almost caused an accident to her today. Unexpectedly, Yoon Daejin did not blame him at all and allowed them to stay at ease. Okay. Ching Lian picked up the phone. Hello, yes, I am Ching Lian, Fang Kizi's wife. I have something to do outside right now. Okay. Okay, I'll be there right away. Kinglian's eyes widened. What, 10 years? Fang Kizi will definitely not give up when he wakes up. What should we do? Ching Yu asked Yoonsu. She just inexplicably believed that Yoonsu must have a solution. Auntie, don't forget that's my card. 200,000 is a huge amount. The sentence starts at least 10 years. As for his injuries, if he wants to use this threat to blackmail me, it's impossible. I'm just defending myself. That's it, he only has his fingerprints on the knife. Yoonsu had already made a plan and blocked Fang Kizi's path. I believe he knew what to choose. After hearing the whole story, Yoon Daejin also sympathized with Ching Lian and her daughter, and immediately expressed his stance, you can live here in peace, it will be fine. No wonder Ching Yu has been working odd jobs outside at such a young age. Yoon Daejin knew that Yoonsu had lent money to the Ching family, but he didn't expect it to be so much, but he didn't say anything. Anyway, it was the money the child earned, and she had the right to use it as she pleased, and he believed that she was sensible. At this time, Kinglian's cell phone rang. She took it out and looked at Yoonsu. It's the police station's number. Yoonsu called Fu Qingting and asked him for help. The price would be higher than the market price. He readily agreed and said he would rush there as soon as possible. After hanging up the phone, Fu Qingting called Qin Jiao and told him about it. Qin Jiao asked him to understand the situation first and then inform him. When Yoonsu and the others arrived at the police station, Fu Qingting was already waiting. Excuse me, lawyer Fu. It's okay, I should do everything. Fu Qingting was wearing a suit and leather shoes. They are professional elites. Susu, it's more expensive to pay a lawyer, Qingyu whispered to Yunsu. This is my friend, the price of friendship is not expensive. Let's go in first. Several people walked into the police station. Hey, it's you again, are you fighting gorillas? Yunsu was amused, and unexpectedly met an old acquaintance. The police officer sitting at the reception desk was Duanhai from the Nanwei Street Public Security Bureau during the last rat incident. Duanhai's eyes turned black when he saw Yunsu. He was demoted and transferred to the police station in the old city. The game is coming, how can we still encounter this evil god? Yun, Miss Yun, why are you here? Please take a seat. Duanhai did not dare to neglect at all. He was joking. The last time the famous figures in the military, political, and legal circles appeared together, he would never forget it in his life. Okay, Auntie, tell me. Yunsu waved her hand and said to Qing Lian. We are here for Fang Qizi, and I am his wife. Duanhai flipped through the notebook. Fang Qizi? Oh, it's the one in the third hospital, right? You sit down first. Old Wang, Fang Qizi's wife is here. Duanhai walked into the office and said to an older police officer, then looked at the colleagues working around him and whispered, Old Wang, be careful, this person it's not easy. After being transferred here, Lao Wang took good care of him and was willing to give him a warning not to offend Yunsu. Wang Shuzheng was shocked. Duanhai was transferred from the city branch and had seen a lot of people. What kind of identity could he have that could make him pay attention so carefully? Moreover, they have investigated Fang Qizi's family members. His wife is a laid-off employee who is sick all year round. He also has a daughter studying in No. 1 middle school. There is nothing special about this, right? In any case, Wang Shuzheng cheered up. It was always right to be careful. He walked out of the office and looked at Qing Lian with a very good attitude. Hello, you are Fang Qizi's wife, right? Yes, I am. Qing Lian stood up. What about these? He looked at them calmly. Qing Lian quickly said, this is my daughter, and this is her classmate. She is at our house today and is also on the scene. And this is the lawyer we hired. Pay. Fu Qingting took the words and handed over his business card. Pay to the Qing court? Isn't it the Fu Qingting he thought of? Wang Shuzheng almost bit his tongue. He stiffly turned his head to look at Duanhai, who nodded slowly. Wang Shuzheng immediately worked up his spirits and prepared to write down any case handled by Fu Qingting, a well-known name in the legal world, that was not a major or important case. Qing Lian calmly finished talking about what happened today. Before coming, Yunsu had already explained to Qing Lian in detail how to describe it. He must highlight the point that Fang Qizi became angry after robbing property and they were just acting in legitimate defense. Are you saying that Fang Qizi attacked her with a fruit knife, and she dodged, and then Fang Qizi fell and the knife penetrated his shoulder? Wang Shuzheng was a little doubtful about life. He thought it was some big case, but he turned out to be such an unlucky man. It's a matter of course, but it's appropriate for him to say that. Fu Qingting glanced at Yunsu and realized that the matter was definitely not that simple. Was her appearance at Qing's house intentional or unintentional? But this has nothing to do with him. It's just that if someone knew that someone dared to operate on her, there was no telling what he would do. Fu Qingting felt a little sympathetic to Fang Qizi, who was still lying in the hospital. Wang Shuzheng was an old policeman, so he naturally realized that the one who made the decision among these people was actually the harmless-looking little girl. He asked some more details, and Yunsu answered them fluently without any problems. Okay, we have understood the matter clearly. There is basically no problem. Don't worry. Now we just wait for Fang Qizi to wake up and we will understand the situation on his side. You can go back after you sign. Okay, please, Officer Wang. Yunsu and the other two signed and walked out of the police station. Old Wang, you did a good job. You must pay attention to this matter. Miss Yun really can't be offended. Duan Hai patted Wang Shu's hung on the shoulder. This case is very clear. When we visited their neighbors, we also learned that Fang Qizi often beat people when he was drunk, and even gambled. He is really a bastard. Wang Shu's hung despised such wife beaters the most in his life. Just watch, there will be some good things to eat from him. Duan Hai snorted coldly, thinking of Lin Tian, who was still in prison. End of this chapter. After Rebirth, boss, she is beautiful and sassy. Author, beautiful. Chapter 68. Chapter 68, 10 years start. Lawyer Fu, I would like to trouble you to make another trip today. I will see you again if there is any situation later. No trouble, you paid me a salary, and I didn't do much to help. I wish it were so easy. Of course Fu Qingting was joking. How many people in China wanted to ask him to file a lawsuit? All reservations are scheduled for a year later. Qin Jiao was having a video conference with his overseas subordinates at his old home. He received a call from Fu Qingting and made a pause gesture to the video. After hearing Fu Qingting's reply, Qin Jiao's face became so gloomy that Qin Ju on the side did not dare to express his anger. The meeting is dismissed. Qin Jiao closed the computer directly, leaving the group of people over there looking at each other. Just keep following up on your side. I'm sorry, Qing Court. It's rare that you still use the word trouble, Fu Qingting joked. How old is Fu Qingting's chief, Qin Jiao? They grew up together and have a good relationship. Qinju. Qin Jiao pressed his eyebrows. This little girl was really worrying. Qing Lian trembled with rage just thinking about Fang Qizi treating her daughter like this. No trouble, no trouble. It's been a tiring day today. Let's go to bed early. Yun Daijin exited, leaving space for mother and daughter. After Yunsu and the others returned home, Yun Daijin breathed a sigh of relief and asked Yunsu what the police said after they left. Yun Daijin was on pins and needles, regretting that he should have gone with him. Mom, is it true that you promised me a divorce today? Qing Yu still wanted to make sure, fearing that her mother would regret it if she calmed down. Yunsu moved her nose and said, Dad, have you cooked? It smells so good. It's really troublesome for you, brother Yun. It's okay, Mom, we will definitely get better and better. Qing Yu hugged her tightly. Smelly bitches, where are the people? Qing Lian touched her head lovingly. Silly boy, the reason why I didn't divorce before was just because I wanted us to have a complete family. I can tolerate whatever he does to me, but that beast dared to do that to you. There is absolutely no way I can forgive this kind of thing. Only by leaving him can we live a better life. Mom was confused before, and I'm sorry for you. There was only a dim bedside night lamp next to the hospital bed. Fang Qizi could only shout at the top of his lungs, Qing Lian, where did you go? Didn't you see that I'm awake? Get me some food quickly, I'm starving to death. Didn't Fang Qizi only lose one hand? I think the other one is of no use, so let him have good things come in pairs. It was getting late after they had finished dinner. Yun Daijin had already cleaned the guest room and put on clean sheets. Qing Lian and her son would sleep in this room tonight. The mother and daughter here rarely had a good night's sleep without fear. Over there, in the hospital, Fang Qizi woke up from the pain after the anesthesia wore off. When she heard Fu Qingting say that the man had knifed her, Qin Jiao almost lost control of his emotions. Although he knew that Yunsu would not be harmed, his heart skipped a beat and fell straight down. Ah! Fang Qizi grimaced in pain. His left shoulder was wrapped in gauze and his right hand was in a plaster cast. He could not move his hand as he could not use any strength. That's good. Fifth Master. Yes, Jinju walked out to make arrangements. Oops, I made the chicken soup. Yun Daijin ran to the kitchen, so uneasy that he even forgot about the soup. It's okay, Dad, the police have understood everything clearly, so let us rest assured. What are you yelling at night? Shut your mouth, if you don't sleep, others will. The nurse on duty walked in after hearing the sound, with a dissatisfied look on her face. Fang Qizi had no choice but to smile and said, "Ms. Nurse, where is my wife? There are two little girls, but why are no one here?" When he thought of Yunsu, Fang Qizi gritted his teeth with hatred to see how he would deal with her when he went out. "What about your wife? You've been here alone. If you hadn't paid the hospitalization fee, we wouldn't have known who to look for. But we saw that you had stab wounds and called the police for you. Only the police came to see you. He said he would contact your family, so just wait." "What? That stinky Qinglian didn't even stay here to take care of him? What did she do? It's really a shame. Who told you to call the police?" Fang Qizi now not only hurts in his body, but also in his heart and liver. If he calls the police and the police intervene, how can he extort money from that little girl who cheated her? "You really don't understand good people's hearts." The nurse was speechless and didn't want to care about him anymore, so she left the ward. Fang Qizi was hungry and in pain now. He was looking at the ceiling, thinking about how to get this place back. If he didn't peel off that little girl's skin, he wouldn't be named Fang. Thinking of various methods, he fell asleep again in a daze. The next day, Fang Qizi called Qinglian, but his phone was always turned off. He was still alone in the hospital. Wang Shuzheng and Duanhai, who received a call from the hospital, rushed to the hospital and asked about Fang Qizi's situation at that time. Fang Qizi was so speechless that Duanhai and Wang Shuzheng frowned more and more. "You mean, it was Yunsu, that girl, who injured you, and then you were stabbed?" Wang Shushan's face was filled with a confused expression, emphasizing the tone of the word girl. "Yes, that little girl is so powerful. She broke my hand in one go." Fang Qizi was afraid that they wouldn't believe it, so he made some gestures and screamed in pain when he pulled the wound. Duanhai looked at the tall and strong Fang Qizi, and then recalled the thin Yunsu, and was speechless for a moment. "Do you recognize this card?" Wang Shuzheng took out the evidence bag, which was given to them by the hospital yesterday. "Of course I do. If I don't recognize my things, please return them to me quickly." Fang Qizi tried to take it back, but Wang Shuzheng withdrew his hand. "You said this is your thing? Don't you know that the holder of this card is Yunsu?" Duanhai looked directly at him. "How is it possible? This is the card I found at my house. How could it be from that little girl?" Fang Qizi didn't want to believe it. Wang Shuzheng directly threw the bank's card holder records in front of Fang Qizi. They had already investigated it. How could this happen? Fang Qizi couldn't believe it. How could the card that was clearly at his house belong to that little girl? No wonder, he asked, how could Qinglian have so much money? Feelings are all other people's. Then it's always true that I was stabbed, right? This is really hurtful. Fang Qizi started to mistreat him again. That little girl made him so miserable. The money in the bank card will belong to him sooner or later, and since she is so, if you have money, it's not impossible to give more money. Fang Qizi's calculation was brilliant, but Wang Shuzheng ruthlessly exposed it the next second. "But you only have your fingerprints on this fruit knife. How do you explain it?" Fang Qizi's expression changed. It was over. The knife was still in his hand, and the little girl didn't touch it at all. Wang Shuzheng then dropped another bombshell. "You can't prove it, but they can all testify that you committed the murder on Yunsu and then stabbed yourself." "Impossible." "How is it impossible?" "That's because they are all in the same group," Fang Qizi blurted out. "Then why don't your wife and daughter help you, but help an outsider?" "That's because he often beats them," and Fang Qizi didn't dare to say this. Wang Shuzheng pressed forward step by step, and Fang Qizi could no longer justify himself. "You should worry about whether others will hold you accountable first. After all, you steal money first and commit crimes later." Duanhai asked him to clarify the current focus. Fang Qizi was completely panicked. Things were completely different from what he thought. In this case, he still had to beg that little girl to let him go. He couldn't do it. There are 200,000 yuan in this card. The starting sentence is 10 years. You can weigh it yourself. We will leave first. You wait for us to notify you. Having said all that should be said, Wang Shuzheng and Duan Hai left. Fang Qizi has no master of 6 gods, 10 years. Doesn't this cost his life? By the way, there are Qing Lian and Qing Yu. Let them talk about it. They have such a good relationship, so the little girl will not care about it. Fang Qizi still hasn't realized that Qing Lian and her daughter are no longer on his side. King Lian's tolerance over the years has given him the illusion that she will always be submissive, but he forgets that all clay figures have tempers. Let alone a mother. Women are weak by nature, but mothers are strong. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After Rebirth, boss, she is beautiful and sassy. Author, beautiful. Chapter 69. Chapter 69 Reborn. Originally, Yunsu and her father had agreed to return to Xiaoshui town on the second day of the Lunar New Year, but now that something like this has happened to the Qing family, Yunsu is worried about leaving, and she is also a party involved. Fang Qizi was frightened to death that what the police said for 10 years was true. He was a man who only knew how to be a quarrel. If something really happened, he would be more timid than anyone else. He kept calling Qing Lian in the hospital. Finally, over there out of kindness, I accepted. Hello? Xiao Lian, where are you? Fang Qizi's voice could be called gentle. Now that he had something to ask for, even if he was treated like this, he didn't dare to open his mouth and scold him like before. She has been married for almost 10 years. Except for the period when she first got married, Qing Lian had never heard Fang Qizi's tone. She frowned in disgust, guessing that the police had been there and Fang Qizi was frightened. It doesn't matter where I am, how are your injuries now? Xiao Lian, I knew you still cared about me. I'm much better now. Come to the hospital quickly. I have something to tell you. Okay, I just have something to tell you, Qing Lian agreed. Qing Lian wanted to divorce Fang Qizi. After all, it was their family matter, so Yunsu didn't go to the hospital with her. Fang Qizi didn't dare to do anything now. Xiao Lian, you are here, sit down quickly. Fang Qizi was smiling with a smile on his face. He didn't know if it was his imagination. He felt that Qing Lian was very cold to him, and Qing Yu followed behind without saying a word. Plavation. Why did you raise her? Fang Qizi, I tell you, you have only one way now. Qing Lian took out the things she carried in her bag and threw them in front of Fang Qizi. Misunderstanding, Qing Lian really didn't expect Fang Qizi to be so shameless. Think about it, I don't have a job, and I'm still sick. You don't do anything all day long. You only drink and gamble. In addition to asking others, our family borrow, where did you get that money? Fang Qizi was a little dumbfounded when his usually submissive wife slapped him in the face. Then I'll give it back to her, give it back to her. Fang Qizi didn't expect Qing Lian to come here for this matter. After all these years, Qing Lian had been beaten by him and never mentioned divorce. Why would she want a divorce as soon as Yunsu showed up? She must have been the one who instigated it. Did that little instigate you? What was she worried about? I really regret that the knife didn't hit her. Fang Qizi's eyes were sinister, and Qing Yu felt horrified. What? Does that count? Then I don't have the money to pay her back. Fang Qizi forgot about this problem and just threw the jar into pieces. Fang Qizi looked at her face as he spoke. That little girl, no, why is that Yunsu's money in our house? You are the same. If you didn't tell me earlier, you might have caused these misunderstandings. Okay, okay, let's get down to business. Have the police come to see you? Fang Qizi tried to test him first. It's me, I've had enough of you, I want to divorce you. Qing Lian couldn't stand it and shouted. At this point, Fang Qizi still didn't feel that he had done anything wrong. Don't pay back. Okay, since they are going to sue you for intentional homicide, it doesn't matter if you still pay the money. Qing Lian knew what he was going to say. Have you forgotten the 50,000 yuan you gambled away? I don't have a father like you, Qing Yu said coldly. Intentional homicide. He didn't even touch the hem of that little girl's clothes, and he was admitted to the hospital. Why should she sue him? How is this possible? Xiaolian, please talk to her, and Xiao, aren't you good friends? She wants to sue her father, and you just watch helplessly. Fang Qizi was completely panicked. Fang Qizi could no longer hold his breath and gritted his teeth and said, he is indeed a white-eyed wolf who is not well raised. What is this? Fang Qizi picked it up and looked at it. Divorce agreement, you want to divorce me? I tell you, there is no way. He balled up the agreement with one hand and threw it away. I tell you, Qing Lian, you will be my wife in this life, and you will be buried in my Fang family's cemetery when you die. Well, tell me what you have to say. Qing Lian wanted to see what Fang Qizi could spit out of his mouth. It's impossible to get rid of him. Then just tell the police. Qing Yu slowly took out a recording pen from his pocket and pressed the play button. The content of their conversation was played out completely. Fang Qizi's words about "I really regret not stabbing Yunsu with that knife" were also clearly heard. Chew. Bitch, Fang Qizi looked at her with murderous eyes. Keep talking, it's still being recorded. If you dare to scold my daughter again, believe it or not, I will put you in jail until you die. Qing Lian stared at him, wishing to bite off a piece of meat. Fang Qizi was so frightened by this look that he shuddered. In all these years, he had never seen Qing Lian like this. He knew that she was serious. Fang Qizi tried his best to calm down. Now that he was caught, he had no choice but to say, okay, I agree to divorce, but you must ensure that I will not be sued. He who understands current affairs is a hero, he agrees first and then talks about it. Qing Lian knew Fang Qizi too well, how could she not know his plan? Okay, you sign it first. She took out another divorce agreement, obviously prepared for it. Fang Qizi had no choice but to look down at the divorce agreement. He was afraid that it would be another trap, so he read it carefully. There were not many terms on it. Qing Yu must be following Qing Lian, and the couple had no property to divide. What does this article mean? Fang Qizi pointed to it. Even if the 50,000 yuan you spent is considered as the joint debt of husband and wife that I bear, you don't need to pay it back to Yunsu. Qing Lian felt that this was the most benevolent and righteous act. Okay, I'll sign. Fang Qizi felt very aggrieved, but he still signed on it, with such strength that he almost cut the paper. After signing, we will go to the Civil Affairs Bureau to get the certificate. I have brought all the documents. Qing Lian was afraid of long nights and many dreams. Now, Fang Qizi couldn't believe it. I'm so injured. You're not paralyzed, you just hurt your hand. As long as you can walk, Qing Lian said impatiently. Once a woman has made up her mind, she will be so determined that she will have no nostalgia. 2 security guards came into the ward. They had rough faces and were tall and tall. They picked up Fang Qizi and left. Yunsu specially asked the security guards from the company to accompany them. Hey, what are you doing? Don't touch me. Fang Qizi struggled to no avail and went all the way to the Civil Affairs Bureau. Are you sure that both parties have no feelings and no room for adjustment, and want to divorce voluntarily? The staff of the Civil Affairs Bureau looked at Fang Qizi, who was wrapped in bandages and wearing a plaster, with a confused look on his face. It was just a divorce. Do we need to be in such a hurry? Yes, Qing Lian answered simply and decisively. What about you? The staff member looked at Fang Qizi. Fang Qizi thought of what the police said, and then thought of the recording in Qing Yu's hand. The situation was so compelling that he could only agree, almost squeezing out from between his teeth, yes. Okay, both parties are determined to divorce. The staff stamped the red stamp, and 2 fresh divorce certificates were issued. Qing Lian took the divorce certificate and suddenly felt unreal. The marriage was divorced so easily. It turns out that Fang Qizi, who was domineering over them, was just a paper tiger who turned into a cat when he was frightened. A big mountain standing above the mother and daughter collapsed. Qing Yu was even happier than her mother. She looked at the divorce certificate and her eyes filled with tears. They were finally free. The marriage was divorced, and the mother and daughter didn't care about Fang Qizi at all and left on their own. Fang Qizi stood alone and helpless at the door of the Civil Affairs Bureau. The anger in his heart almost broke through the sky. He looked at the mother and daughter's leaving figures with sinister eyes. So what if they were divorced? Do you think you could get rid of him in this way? Don't even think about it. End of this chapter. After Rebirth, Boss, she is beautiful and sassy. Author, beautiful. Chapter 70. Chapter 70 Uncle's Family. Fang Qizi was shocked and would definitely be honest for a while. Yunsu went back with Qing Lian and her daughter to pack their things, gave them the spare key to her home, and asked them to stay at her house safely, and then slowly look for a house. On the 4th day of the Lunar New Year, Yunsu, Yunting, and Yun Daijin returned to Xiaoshui town with peace of mind. After a few hours of bumpy roads, several people set foot on the land of Xiaoshui town. Yun Daijin took a deep breath of the familiar air. Although Lanqinj was good, after all, he felt more comfortable here. The army is over here, a dark-skinned man with thick eyebrows and big eyes shouted from a distance. Yun Daijin said in surprise, "Brother, why are you here?" It is Yun Daijin's eldest brother, Yun Deguo. What are you talking about? You go home during the Chinese New Year, and I, the eldest brother, don't come to pick you up. What are you talking about? Yun Deguo had a straight face and looked a bit bluffing, but Yunsu knew that this uncle was the most soft-hearted, so he immediately called out sweetly, "Uncle, Happy New Year." "Uncle, I miss you so much." Yunting stepped forward and hugged him. He had been close to Yun Deguo since he was a child. Tisk, 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 this little face is so slippery, it feels so good. Yun Xiao pinched Yunsu's face with both hands, looking envious. "Here we come," Lafayette Yun Xiao sighed and went into the kitchen to help. After a long time, I heard a reply, "Oh, I know." When Yunsu was taken away by Su Ziyuling, besides Yun Daijin and Yunting, the one who hated her the most was Yun Deguo. Regarding what happened to Yunsu in the Yun family over there, Yun Daijin also roughly told him, and Yun Deguo was even more upset after hearing it. He was so angry that he scolded Yuntu and Su Ziyuling as not being good people and not worthy of being parents. Now seeing that Yunsu and her father were doing well, Yun Deguo breathed a sigh of relief and was happy for them from the bottom of his heart. Cao Liun was from another province and married to Xiaoshui town. She was not familiar with the place. Due to physical reasons, she only gave birth to one daughter, so she treated Yunsu and Yunting as her own children. The little pavilion has also grown taller. Yun Deguo picked up the Yunting and weighed it. It is also heavier and has gained weight. "Susu is here? Sit down for a while and eat something to cushion your stomach. Auntie will be fine soon." Cao Liun came out with a spatula, beaming with joy. She raised her head and saw Yunsu looking at her with a smile. She immediately woke up from her drowsiness and said, "Oh, whose little beauty is this? Why did you come to my house? Come here and take a look. Susu is really sensible, and Xiaoting is also good, but don't do it next time. Uncle will be happy when you come back." Yun Deguo changed his face faster than anyone else. It was almost done, and a few people went to Yun Deguo, where Aunt Cao Liun was busy in the kitchen. Uncle, these are the gifts that Xiaoting and I bought for you, Auntie, and Sister Xiao. The few people hadn't seen each other for a long time and walked home chatting and laughing. Yundeguo asked them to put away their things and then went to his house for dinner. Although the Yunsu family's house had not been occupied for a long time, Yundeguo often went there to clean it and everything was clean. Hey, our Susu is really getting more and more beautiful as she grows older. My uncle doesn't dare to admit it. Yundeguo didn't lie. Today, Yunsu is so radiant and has a good temperament. No one will believe that it was from someone like them. People who go out to small places. Yundeguo also dried the quilts for them in advance. After making the bed, Yunsu threw himself on the bed and took a deep breath, which was full of the smell of sunshine. Auntie, I'm here. Yunsu rarely showed the charming side of a little girl. In the past many years, her aunt has played the role of mother in her heart. Okay, I won't touch your baby. Yun Xiao raised her hands in surrender. Her mother had treated Yunsu better than her since she was a child. She was used to it and wasn't angry. Who made her like Susu too? Yun Xiao is 2 years older than Yunsu and is in her 3rd year of high school in the county. It is a critical moment. Yunsu and the others have been on winter vacation for more than half a month. They have just finished their makeup classes in their 3rd year of high school. When they come back, they sleep in the dark every day. Cao Liun has seen it early, can't go down anymore. Why are you standing there? Come here and serve the food. Immediately her expression changed again, and she knocked loudly on the closed door of the room next to her. Yun Xiao, what time is it? Your uncle's family is here, and you are still lying on the bed. Get up quickly. Yunsu let her manipulate her. She was thin-skinned, and her face turned red when Yun Xiao used a little force. Cao Liun got angry again when she saw it. Yun Xiao, are you sick? Why are you pinching her face? I thought everyone was just like you, thick-skinned. Turning around, he saw the large and small bags in Yun Dajan's hand, and he frowned again. Why do you bring so many things? You have everything at home. Yun Xiao yawned and walked out sleepily. She was not very beautiful, but she was white and very attractive. The food here in Xiashui town has a heavy taste. Cao Liun cooks and is willing to add ingredients. She is very fast and has a large table of dishes on the table. Yundeguo can also cook, but he rarely works in the kitchen. Yunsu sighed inwardly. All the Yun family members seem to have a talent for cooking, except, she herself is similar to Suzayuling in this aspect. Suzayuling is a person who can't even boil an egg. Suzayuling called her a few years ago and wanted her to go back to Yun's house for the new year, and even accepted her taking Yun Dajan and Yunting with her, but Yunsu ruthlessly refused. She could guess that the reason why Yuntu and Suzayuling were so compromised was because they couldn't explain themselves to their relatives and friends and wanted her to go back and make things right, but Yunsu didn't care about that much. The two families sat around the table, and the atmosphere was harmonious and lively. Yundeguo and Cao Liun kept picking up food for Yunsu and Yunting, with kind eyes, asking them to eat more. Yun Xiao looked left and right, resigned to her fate, and helped herself to the meal. Sister Xiao, eat this. Yunsu put a chicken wing into her bowl. Thank you Susu. Susu is nice to me, unlike some people. Uncle will also pinch you. Thank you, Uncle. Yun Xiao happily took the bowl and took it. Yunting said, I also want to pick up some food for Sister Xiao. Okay, our Xiaoting is the cutest, and Xiaoting's sister has eaten all the food. Yun Xiao was overjoyed. Cao Liun looked at her sideways, hating that iron could not be made into steel. You eat and sleep every day, and eat after sleeping. I haven't seen you touch a book in the past few days since you came back. Do you know that you are already in your senior year of high school? I know, please stop reading. Yun Xiao covered her ears and couldn't bear the disturbance. Yun Dajan quickly advised, yes, sister-in-law, it's the Chinese New Year. Let the child relax. The third year of high school is so hard, it's okay to take a break once in a while. Look at my uncle, he is much more reasonable than you. Cao Liun raised her eyebrows. Be reasonable? If I had a daughter like Susu, I would be reasonable. Look at her grades. She ranked first in her grade in the best high school in Lanchinge. She even got a math Olympiad some time ago. What's wrong with you? Your grades are in doubt. Yoon Daejin, a womanizer, called his eldest brother and mentioned Yoon-soo in 6 out of 10 sentences. He told him all his achievements and awards, which made Yoon Daegyo and Cao Liun very envious and jealous. Olympic mathematics competition, Yoon Xiao was so shocked that she dropped her chopsticks and didn't care about arguing with her mother. She looked at Yoon-soo. Susu, you are so awesome. Tell my sister, you won the provincial prize or a national award. Before Yoon-soo could say anything, Yoon Daejin spoke proudly, our Susu won the national gold medal. Yoon Xiao swore directly. The next second, Cao Liun hit her head with her chopsticks and said in a dangerous tone, what did you say? No, Mom, let me tell you, do you know how awesome this award is? It's a national gold medal, my dear, you can choose from all universities in the country. Really? Cao Liun put down the bowl in surprise, and Yoon Daegyo stopped smoking. Daejin, why didn't you say this? What did you say? She refused and wanted to take the exam on her own. Reject what? Hwaking University and Beijing University offered her a place, but she didn't agree. Yoon Daejin was not sorry, he believed in Yoon-soo. But, the tobacco pole in Yoon Daegyo's hand fell to the ground. Cao Liun was dumbfounded. Yoon Xiao choked on her own saliva and coughed. Oh my god, Hwaking University and Beijing University rejected me, so what kind of university do you want to go to? Yoon Xiao calmed down and sighed with emotion. Susu, you are so capable. It seems that our old Yoon family is going to be the top pick. Yoon Daegyo looked forward to it. If he heard anyone say that Yoon-soo was not a child of their Yoon family, who would he follow? Urgent. Cao Liun suddenly remembered, Susu, can you do the questions for the third year of high school? Mom, aren't you asking nonsense? Yoon Xiao was speechless. Shut up, Cao Liun glared at her. Susu, look at this, can you give your sister Xiao some tutoring these 2 days? Auntie will pay for your tuition. I'm really worried. Auntie, what are you talking about? Yoon-soo pretended to be angry. Of course it's okay for me to show sister Xiao the questions. What do you mean by making up the tuition fee? You treat me like an outsider. Yes, sister-in-law, how can you say this? Yoon Daejin also looked disapproving. Yes, I said the wrong thing. Cao Liun clapped her hands, it's my fault. Then I'll make delicious food for Susu. Is that okay? That's pretty much it? Yoon Xiao was anxious. No, why didn't anyone ask me for my opinion? She finally rested for a few days. Was it easy for her? You shut up. You shut up. Yoon Daegyo and Cao Liun said in unison, which made everyone laugh. End of this chapter.